that doesn't necessarily have a college degree might be a much lower wage and might be getting sort of a minimum wage. So, so we're trying to keep a really open attitude.
Well, would that qualify basically the production of films? Like, you know, because a lot of these industrial buildings are becoming stages for filming. And so, of course, they're good jobs.
Sure,
But
yeah.
is that considered industrial to you?
It absolutely is considered industrial. I think we'd look at, so, you know, you've got the living wage piece clearly taken care of. And there are other things that we want to look at. We want to look at the job density. So how many jobs are you fitting within any given amount of space? We want to think about the access to those jobs that, again, people without a formal degree or formal education might have. So to what extent do those job opportunities, are they available to folks in the community that, for example, might just have a GED? So, you know, if we can answer most of those in the affirmative, then I think that facility use, you know, is something that we could consider.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, thank you. Any other questions on the industrial development fund?
So for existing in our board, we have 2 IBZ zones, Maspeth and Soma south of Ridgewood. We're being bombarded by people trying to develop residential and even one to take 50,000 square feet and get a liquor license and have this, that. We already have one that took over the old KD door and frame property in Maspeth and created a knockdown center, which is an entertainment and showplace center. So how would this help us in the existing areas?
Great question. I think, so I guess a couple of ideas there. This basically creates a few sources of capital for actors in the industrial space that are looking to build new space. So I guess in response to your question, I would say not necessarily at the sites that have turned over no longer industrial, but to the extent that a site has developable FAR that's industrial, it could be expanded to create more industrial space, whether that's sort of laterally or vertically or both. If there's industrial property that is dilapidated and could really use an infusion of capital to bring that space to more productive use and be able to really bring some vibrant, interesting industrial uses and jobs into that space. So, you know, I'd have to know more about some of the sort of opportunities there. But I think those are some of the ways, you know, just another example. Let's say you've got a successful business, industrial business, let's say a beverage distributor. So I remember talking to Gene Taylor a while back, and she mentioned some of these beverage distributors, and they're doing very well, and they're saying, hey, I'm working out of 70,000 square feet, I'm doing really well, I'd love to be able to build an additional 30,000 square feet. You know, banks are giving me not so great terms. I'm having you know, even though I'm doing okay, my cash flow is a bit of an issue. What is there that makes it easier for someone like me to take, you know, to undertake this kind of project? So this could be one of those opportunities. I guess the scenario I'm describing there is a for-profit scenario, but that there is an opportunity for for-profits to take advantage of this. There are also tremendous opportunities for nonprofits, and so to the extent that organizations like, I don't know if people know Greenpoint Manufacturing Design Center, GMDC, based out of, you know, Greenpoint, you know, they're someone who has really shown that there's a model out there for a nonprofit organization to finance and acquire and build industrial property, and then again, from a mission-based perspective, sublease that space and provide services to small industrial tenants, you know, woodworkers, makers, fabricators that, you know, are each, and for each of them they're relatively small, but in the aggregate you're getting 50 to 100 people employed within that space. So whether it's from a nonprofit perspective or for-profit perspective, you know, this is just a great source of below market money, and in some cases with the city capital, free money to try to make those projects possible.
We have one property owner that owns 2 square blocks, sitting on it, waiting for the opportunity to get a zoning change or variance to build residential. And it's strictly industrial, right in the heart of Summit. How would this convince him to go in the industrial direction?
That's a great question. I don't know if this would convince them necessarily. You know, I guess what I could say is that it clearly presents another alternative for that property owner to say, look, you know, one path that you are clearly thinking of taking is to hold and wait and hope that the zoning happens and you can do something else with the property.
Yeah, and just to that point, Vinny, remember when we were creating the
Right.
Soma district, we met with the property owners of
Yeah.
the industrial, and, you know, a lot of them were very civic minded and wanted to keep the buildings industrial and wanted to create the good jobs, but the market wasn't there, they needed help, and they just didn't have the capital to sort of build out the space so that, you know, more modern manufacturing operations can come in, and I think this could possibly be a tool that Ted and Gene could use to raise them.
Like Andy said to us,
Yeah.
he would be willing to develop, but if there was no one that was going to stay for the 10 years to get his return on investment,
Right.
that's where the loss would be. So he was interested originally in industrial development, but there's no guarantee we would bring in a business that would stay 10, 15 years. Yeah, so that's part of the problem.
And they didn't want to make that initial investment to build out the space to make it suitable for
Sure.
a manufacturing.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's a great perspective because on our side, so you know, we run a lot of programs that deliver financial assistance to industrial companies. We find that so many industrial companies can't find the space, and they're really hungry for that affordable space. You'll find that at other places like, you know, the Navy Yard. They talk about the wait list in terms of industrial companies that are looking for space and can't always find it. So yeah, we'd always be happy to send, you know, more information. But I think, as you pointed out, I mean, I think that is a real opportunity to help a property owner to, you know, put some real capital into activating space and finding a new kind of tenant that will definitely be there for the long term.
We would also welcome sitting down with the property owner if you think it might be worthwhile to have a meeting and just explain,
There's that old lady
the
over there.
incentive.
He knows that. But one of the aspects is, you know, if they were willing, even without your money, willing to do their own money, the fear is that they won't get the money. So can your program be developed to guarantee the income, the rent for 10 years? That's something you need to think about.
Thanks, that's great feedback. I mean, ours is more a financing program to get money in the hands of the developers so they can, the owners, I should say, business owners or industrial developers, to get them to, you know, bring about that industrial space. And the hope is that, you know, from what we've seen, there is a lot of demand for small industrial users that want to come in and rent that space. So that's what we've seen. Any other questions on industrial development?
Could it be part of a property? It's hard, I would think, because you're saying non-profit, not-for-profit, most of these developers and property owners, when it, you know, because if they have, some of the buildings are really big, and they have 50,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet, so maybe they want to dedicate one floor to this program. Can they do a partial part of their property, a certain percentage of square footage? And then, you know, you got this nonprofit thing happening, so they're gonna have to set up a new entity or something, because it has to be nonprofit, right?
Yeah, great question. So I'd say, but put aside, there's sort of two separate conversations, nonprofit versus for-profit, and they're two different types of projects. So let's focus on for-profit, and I think you're right that there are going to be more industrial businesses, industrial users that are for-profit that could take advantage of this. So again, the goal here is to get those companies to build new industrial space using these sources of financing. So to the extent that they're able to build a new floor using this money, that's great. I mean, then mission accomplished, that's a home run for us. If they don't need this kind of financial support and they want to